everyone, this is Michael Shin from Evolve Electrical, and today I'm going to walk you through the new Conduit Bend Optimization commands that have recently come out with the new Evolve Electrical 5.0. Before we get started, I'm going to dive into here actually a couple examples and show how Evolve Electrical solves for conduit modeling in a Revit environment and how we are able to save you upwards of 60% of your modeling time with utilizing our Smart Bend families. Once I've gone through that whole example, I'll then show you how these new features for optimizing your bends and placement of your couplings along your run will now make your model truly ready for prefabrication, as well as make the modeling time really easy and get you exactly what you're looking for from out of the model. So as you see here down at the bottom of the screen, we ship with 5 different bend families. This is our stub 90, we've got a kick 90, we've got an offset with a rolling offset functionality built into it. We got our 4-point saddle as well as our 3-point saddle. All of these are all programmed to work with different benders. You've got all the different customization that you're looking for as an end user or from your prefab shop. We even have a bend configuration interface here that allows you to truly dive down that rabbit hole and actually truly refine exactly how those bends are being pushed out to your prefab shop. Utilizing these bend families is simply built off of native Revit functionality when drawing conduits. So let's say I just draw in a 3-inch conduit running down the run here. It's now placed in, per the native Revit routing preferences, it just placed in a simple stub 90. But if I wanted to switch that to a kick 90, I can easily switch that right from here from our types menu. Click the convert button to officially turn this family on and do all the math that it's looking for. So again, all the different controls that you're looking for with that bend. What's the height? Is it kicking up, kicking down, left, right? What's the direction that's kicking? All the different controls that you're looking for. We've even thrown in a green box here indicating to the detailer which end is the pivot end. So if I were to change this from a kick left to a kick right, you'll see that the pivot end, which is this green side, is the one that's going to move. Let's do another sample here downstream where we might have to make an adjustment here. Maybe we need to place in a offset here due to some coordination reasons. Downstream we've got a kick 90. We'll worry about that in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and delete this hanger, get it out of the way. Let's just say we need to place in an offset here. I'm going to utilize our place coupling tool to quickly select those conduits. I'll click on the single location and I'll click at this point here. This is then going to place in 2 couplings aligned at that one spot where I clicked onto it. What this now allows me to do is switch this coupling family to our native Smart Bend family, our offset family. Now we have the little convert button to officially turn this family on. There's a full workflow about the convert button, which I'll get into a little bit here. But that is now turned that family on. I've got all the controls I'm looking for from a detailer. What's the offset height? What's the angle that's going at? As well as if I want to do a rolling offset, I've got all the controls I'm looking for here. So I move this over, change our different view. Maybe we need to roll this over to the right. So I can click on to the roll option. That turns it on. That has now kicked it over at a distance of 1 foot. I can also say, no, maybe I want to kick it to the left or kick it to the right. All the controls I'm looking for from a detailer. I can also quickly come in here and change the offset height. So maybe we're going up 1'4". That's going to raise up as well. Real easy. We're saving you upwards of 60% of your modeling time with utilizing these Smart Bend families. Next, I'm going to convert these kick 90s back to being a simple stub 90. So I'll unconvert it. Now I have the ability to switch this now back to a simple stub 90 EMT. And there we go. So now that has now avoided that clash in that scenario. And then quickly here, what we'll do is delete those hangers. Actually, let's go ahead and delete this little section here too, and let the tool rerun. Let our hanger placement tool quickly place in hangers along our run. I'm doing this video, all this is being live as I'm going through this. You'll see a couple little, I might mess up in a couple little spots, no big deal. For example, I just did change of direction, which means it stopped after hitting that offset. I'm going to do the entire path, so that way it goes up and over, it recognizes that offset, it'll adjust the hangers accordingly. So now it's gone ahead and replaced in all those hangers based on the ones that I told it to. So what we're doing here is we're basically doing that BIM coordination portion of the project. We're drawing in as fast as we possibly can, faster than the pipe and duct guys now because of these Smart Bend families. We can also utilize our Conduit Run Schedule to then push more data into the model. At this point in the project, we're not really worrying about where the actual couplings are in the model. All of these bends are staying within the confines of the different bends that it can do. So a level 1 detailer cannot make a bend that doesn't exist. So the idea here is, as you're making your adjustments during the coordination process, you put your Conduit Run information in, don't worry about where the actual couplings are going to be. If you wanted to put those in, yes, you can utilize these tools now to do that. I recommend, from past BIM experience, you're trying to draw in too much during that coordination phase. So at this portion, you're just making adjustments in your model. Once your floor or that area has been signed off in the model, now you go back and you optimize your run for prefabrication purposes. In this case, optimizing your runs, that way all of your bends and couplings are all nice and aligned. This is the same method and procedure that takes place particularly on the piping and duct trades. They'll go ahead, draw in all their models, and then they'll go back and optimize their runs for true prefab. So let's go ahead and do this process here. To remove this clutter on the screen, I'm going to quickly remove our hangers from our view. I've got our simple element filter here, and we'll just hide those in our view here. Same thing, we just delete these offsets and families we have here. So now we have our rack of conduits. This has been signed off. No more of these offsets or anything are going to be moving. Everything needs to stay at its spot. But I now need to optimize this run for true prefabrication. This is when the fun part of this presentation begins right now. So what we're going to do here is, this is our starting point for our model. We've got a couple kick 90s here. We've got a couple stub 90s. And now what I wanted to do is actually now optimize this section and basically turn these all into full 10-foot sticks, so that way I can then push this data out to the prefab shop. Unfortunately, the way you model in Revit is, you'll notice that this bottom section here has a bunch of straights. I don't want to have to sit here and manually delete those straight pieces and then click onto each one of these and then manually adjust the nose and tail length accordingly. That's not it's a very long, time-consuming task to do that. So what we've done here is now created some optimization tools to quickly optimize these bends. Here up on top of the screen, you'll see these 6 new icons that we've added in here. Optimize Bend, Consume Adjacent seems to be my favorite button out of all the 6 that we've added in here. Optimize Bend, Consume Adjacent, what that allows you to do, I click onto it, it's going to put you into a multiple selection mode, so I can window select the bend families in this area. It's only going to let you select our bend families, so I believe it's V7 and up. I've window selected those. Notice it won't let me grab any other straights or anything else in the model. I click Finish, and what the tool is now doing is it's recognizing that these have short pieces or short straights on this side. It's going to automatically delete those short segments and extend the tail as well as the nose and turn these into full 10-foot sticks. Let me isolate these in our view for a second here. Pretty cool how fast it was able to do that. I'm going to hit undo on that procedure. You'll see it happen one more time. Click onto it, window select, I click finish, and in a matter of a couple seconds here, it's now optimized those and made them fully a 10-foot stick. And then that's when these next commands come into play here. So next, now we want to probably at this point now align our couplings in this scenario. So you'll notice that the stop, let's see, these are a 3-inch diameter kick 90. I probably want all the bends in this area to align to that same spot. So what we have the ability to do here is actually click onto our align couplings command. Click onto it. It's basically just like the native Revit alignment commands. The first one I click onto sets the reference plane. Now it's putting me into a multiple selection mode, asking me to select all the bends that you want to align to that point. I'll click Finish. And again, in a couple seconds, it's now automatically has now pulled back all of the bends to align to that same spot, maintaining the same length that it was at the other end. So it did not push those couplings down into that piece of equipment. Again, undo, and then forward, you'll see that change that occurred there. Built into our smart bend families, of course, are the actual couplings. So I can turn the couplings on in the actual view. So I did that for the kick 90s. I do the same thing here for our stub 90s. I'll select them and turn on coupling number 2. So now we have all of our couplings turned on in that view. Let's do the same thing now downstream over here. We've got a single stub 90. Any of our applications that have, or any of our icons, sorry, that have a asterisk next to it indicate that it has an option for a shift. So by default, it's going into a multiple selection. If I hold down shift, it's going to put it into a single selection mode where I can click onto that one bend family and click onto each one of them one by one. By default, we had it the other way around, and I think the multiples is the preferred method that you would be wanting to use this on. So now what our tool has just done is it's now one by one, clicked onto each one of those bend families, and it's now extended the tail and the nose. I'll click undo on that again for you. Hold down shift, puts it into a single selection. I can click onto this bend. It's going to basically turn it into a full 10-foot stick. Same thing for here, turn that into a 10-foot stick. It notices that this is the shortest piece that it had available, so that then extended that nose piece that connected those two together. I now have the ability to turn on the couplings that are nested inside of each of the bend families. I just turned it on just for this one here. So now we have our stub 90s connected here. We can do the same thing here. I'll hold down shift. I can also, without holding down shift, I can grab this one and grab this one at the same time, click finish, and bring those together. Fully up to you as the end user how you want to select these elements. The other option you do have on here is the consume selected. So consume selected allows you to click onto a bend family, click finish, and then pick what side of the bend that you want to consume. So if I click onto this end and click finish, it's then going to leave the point up here at its spot, but extend the rest of the tail. I'll do that one more time here. So consume selected end, click onto the bend family, I click finish. I can then click this conduit here, click finish, and notice that it now extends out all the way out. It was prompting me for the finishes because it's in a multiple selection mode. If I held down shift here, it's putting me into a single selection option. So I click that bend once, consume maybe this end. So it now extended out that tail all the way to its maximum length that's available. Basically, the combination of these two commands, optimize bend consume selected and optimize bend consume adjacent, gives you all the controls that you're looking for in what side of the nose or tail of these bends you want to absorb. So I'm going to hit undo on that. So let's go ahead here. I'll say consume adjacent. So therefore, it's going to consume both sides of the family. Then I'll do the same thing here. Click onto this element. And in that scenario, again, I held down shift to do it one at a time. That way it avoids the having to do the finish if you didn't want to. So you can see we now have our stub 90s connected together. Now we have a stub 90 and a kick 90 brought together. A cool workflow that we have in here is, let's just say as an example, it turns out that the shop said, hey, there's actually, or the field said, we remove this kick 90, raise this up so that way it's at a stub 90. Well, in a Revit environment, if you were to actually now take, this is a fitting to fitting scenario, if I were to unconvert this, it's going to actually pull things along for the ride and makes it a little bit tricky here to actually now make modifications to your model after it's been optimized. In this case, it's fitting to fittings or it's been optimized. What we've done here from a workflow standpoint is provided you a reset bend feature. What this does is it basically puts the tail and the nose of the bend families back to its minimum length. So I'm going to click on to the reset bend command. It puts me into a multiple selection. I'm going to window select both of these elements here. And now I'll click finish. And now you can see it's now put both of these back to its default state. This now allows me to window select onto the convert button and put this back to being a regular stub 90. So now if I were to use the consume adjacent, click finish, it's now extending that piece out. I can do the same thing for this end. In that scenario, I held down shift. So what the reset bend feature allows you to do is, again, after you've optimized this section, maybe you need to make changes to it and you want to kind of maybe revert it back to its regular native state. the Reset Bend feature allows you to window select a grouping of conduits or conduit bend families. And basically what it does is it extends or retracts the tail and the nose back to its minimum state, and then it'll recognize, was it connected to anything downstream? Yes, in this case it was connected to that coupling, so therefore, or that connector, therefore, please place in a straight segment in that scenario. So now we've got our section here all nice and aligned. I'm now going to use our Place Couplings feature. I can window select this grouping of straights, click Finish, and I'm going to use the Change Direction method. I want all of our conduits to be a 10-foot segment and a minimum length of, let's say, 6 inches for our shop. So now I'm going to click onto this end of the run, and it's now going to go ahead and place couplings along this straight segment here. And I can do the same thing here down in this scenario. So now it's placed those all at 10 feet. So you can see all these are nice and aligned, nice and 10-foot segments. We now have another scenario to deal with here. Is we've got our 2 kick 90s that we have here. I'm now going to use the Consume Adjacent feature. So I'll click both of these elements, click Finish, and it's now extended them both to its maximum nose and tail length. Let's say this feature is going, this bend is going in this direction. Well, now we have the option here to reverse the nose end, which will actually flip these families around. Again, reverse nose, so that way I can control which side these bend families are going in what direction. So now what I would like to do in this scenario is now align my couplings of these bends along with these couplings here. So that's where we have the align couplings command does work with couplings that are along a straight run here. So I click onto a coupling. It then prompts me to click another straight segment. That way the tool can then recognize exactly where the end of those pipes are. I can now select my 2 bends that I want to extend to that spot, and it's now done that. I'm going to hit undo, do that one more time. I'll say align coupling. If I click onto a straight coupling or straight segment, click that coupling, then click onto a straight segment. That way it now knows exactly where that coupling is in space in terms of reference lines. I can now click Finish, and it extends those out. I can then turn on both of the couplings that are nested inside of those bends. And then we'll do the same thing down here. Maybe I want these nice and aligned too. So I'll use the align bends, align those 2 together, and they're now nice and aligned. Continuing along here, I can now quickly use our place coupling commands to run coupling straight down this path. Cool, in a matter of a few minutes here, we're now optimizing our run, getting it ready for true prefab, as well as maybe even our spool sheets. During that initial selection of the couplings, these top 2, I didn't select those. That way now I know exactly where the 10-foot sticks are going to align. So now I can use, on these two straight segments, I can finish this rack here. So now that all of the couplings are all nice and aligned, all of these are reporting now at a length of 10 feet. One more scenario to do here. Let's work with our stub 90s in this corner along with our offsets that we have here. So what we're going to do, I want to use the Consume Adjacent. I can window select this section here. Notice that again, it's only letting you select our bend families that work with these commands. So I'm going to optimize those runs. So it's now extended both the tail and the nose to its maximum length. From a visual standpoint, I'm going to isolate these stub 90s here pretty quickly. So now you can see they're all been optimized, they're all 10-foot sticks, but maybe from your prefab shop, you want to have all of the couplings in this scenario nice and aligned. So let's turn on those couplings so you can see them built into the families. And then now let's again use our align coupling feature. I click onto the first one I want them all to align to, window select the remainder, click Finish, and you'll see all the noses have now extended. The tails also came along for the ride as well. As you see, I hit undo and forward. And let's do the same thing on this back end here. I'm going to use the same command, align couplings, click this feature, and click that element, grab the remaining, click Finish, and it now pulls those back. So now we have a a stub 90 corner that's ready for prefab. You can reset this view so you can see it here. So now we have another scenario to work with. We've got a rolling offset. From a demo state, what I'm going to do here is just grab these two. I'm going to move these over and also slide that one over just a little bit, just to kind of mess the view up a little bit. And I'm also going to, just for fun here, I'm going to override that angle, maybe put it at like 60 or something. Here we go. So now we have a scenario here where we got 4 bends. I want them all nice and aligned before I do my optimization here. That's where we have the feature for align bends. Works similar to our other commands where it picks the first one you pick onto is the reference offset or reference bend. I can then window select the remaining bends in that area, click finish, and what this is now going to automatically do is match the actual angle as well as the alignment of these elements here. Notice that when I hit Control Z and forward and back, it's aligning it to the first one that I clicked onto, as well as matching the actual angle of those bends. Same thing again, I'll do it one more time. Align bends, click my first one, click the remaining group, click finish, and those are all nice and aligned. Now I'm ready for really getting this to be optimizing those bends. I'll use that same command. Consume adjacent, again, seems to be my favorite one out of the group. Slight little process here. What we've challenged our dev team to do here is to check and make sure that the bends don't move. Just from a demo, I'm going to move this over just a little bit here. One thing you can also do is make sure that things work exactly as they're supposed to. We notice that the reset bend feature will help reset things back and put basically everything back to its shortest nose and tail length. What happened there, I hit Control Z a little bit faster, but one of the noses didn't react correctly. But what we're going to do here, Windows select those, click finish. It's now going to recognize that there's a short segment here. And when it does that, notice that it's not moving the bend. The bend needs to stay there because of coordination purposes, but now extend the tail and the nose to its maximum length of, say, 10 feet. Notice that the short segment's here. So now when I optimize it, it has now removed those straight segments, replaced it, and extended the tail and the nose accordingly. And now we have our rolling offset ready for prefabrication. Turn on our couplings, and now we're ready to go. Now it's up to you as the detailer or the prefab team to what direction now do you want to start the remaining of those couplings. A couple of different options you can do. For example, one, do you want to start from this direction here and work along our path this way? Or do you want to maybe have all the bends in this area nice and aligned and then start our 10 foot from that direction? It's totally up to you with all these different controls that we now have for placement of couplings. So let's use our consume adjacent, which is really cool. I can just window select this little group here, click finish. Slight little process here as it does all the crazy math, extends all the tails and noses. I would not recommend utilizing just window selecting this whole area, this whole job, and playing and saying consume adjacent. It's up to you to see what the results you get, but we recommend working in a small little group fashion as you go along here. Notice that we can then come in here, make some adjustments. Let's maybe even make sure that we have matching angles. So you'll see here, current angle is a 30. Well, let's put all of these to a matching of 30 with our use override. So now we have the same control here. I can click onto these. Let's turn on the couplings in this scenario, and the same thing here. Let's turn on those couplings as well. And then we can utilize our align bend feature to align all the bends so they're nice and clean in this scenario. Let's say I want to have them all aligned to the first one I click onto, grab the remaining 5 or 6, click finish, and it's then going to pull all of those back so they're nice and aligned. So now it's up to you what direction which direction you're going to go. Somewhere along this run, we're going to have to cut a couple pieces a little bit shorter than 10 feet. So do you want your short segments down over here or over here? So what I'm going to do is window select this group, click finish, use the change of direction feature, click OK. And it's now placed our couplings along our path. You can see they're all nice and aligned. Got a little cut here and a little cut segment in there. So now everything is basically ready for prefab. Our last segment that we have to do is maybe downstream over here. Again, that's been optimized. Same thing again here. Let's optimize this little section. Okay, those have been extended. Up to you as the detailer, what side do you want the short segment on? So we can utilize with the stub 90, I can reverse the nose end. All the different controls that you're looking for. Let's maybe even align them all together here with our alignment tool. Same thing again, I'll align these two together. We'll turn on the couplings. Same thing, we'll turn on the couplings. So as you can see, why we're recommending this workflow is go ahead and draw everything in, get it all just coordinated. Then you can quickly go back here and now turn on all the couplings and place all the couplings along your run for quick prefab. Same thing, let's do it this section here. Again, 10 feet. There's our rolling offset that we put in before. Remember before we didn't have to worry about where couplings were. Now at this phase of the project we now do during the optimization and prefab state. That's going to then extend the tail on the nose. Let's turn the nose on, or the coupling in this scenario on. And then we do the same thing down over here, window select out little group. Excellent. And then we'll do one last time. I'm going to use the place coupling command, window select these two conduits, and then determining on which side I click. If I click onto this side, it's going to start my first 10 foot from this side. If I click onto over here, it's going to go in this direction. So I'm going to click onto this side, so that way it'll be a 10-foot stick here, and then a short segment. If I hit undo, I can redo that command again, place couplings. This time click onto this end of the feature. There's my 10-foot, there's my short segment. Totally up to you as a detailer as you're working here. So now let's go ahead, let's turn back on our view. Let's reset our view, turn on all of our hangers. Now this is all ready for true prefabrication and ready for spooling. You see here from all of our schedules are ready to actually pull out all the data that we're looking for, all the kick 90s that we have in the project. All of this is ready for now for prefabrication. You can now set up your spool sheets, your prefab packages, however you want to set this up to get this down out to the fields. Utilizing these smart bend features, we feel these are industry game-changing features now for the electrical contractor side. I hope you've really enjoyed sitting through this video, walking through all the different concepts that we're coming up with. I'm going to do another video as well, diving into a switchgear room on how to actually coordinate and actually optimize those runs in a switchgear environment or switchgear room. Well, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.